This podcast is a casual conversation about mental health. All topics discussed are based on our own personal opinions and should not be interpreted as professional advice. If you need assistance with your mental health, please contact a healthcare provider.
I'm overstimulated, expect the long-awaited abolition of my brain.
But if mentally we synchronize, despite what we despise, there's a chance that maybe I won't go insane. Hi friends, welcome to Mental Sync.
Welcome to Mental Sync. It's the only show that I can't see because it's too loud. All the time. It's too loud and I can't see.
Fair.
And that's what we're going to talk about today, is when it's too loud.
When it's so loud you can't
for
see.
John to see. Yeah.
You know, John told me when we were, writing notes about this episode that when he's driving and he takes, a turn, he has to turn down the volume of the radio.
Not every time, just only if it's, a stressful turn and the music is very loud. This is a thing. This is definitely a thing. People out there, so we're talking about overstimulation today, right? Overstimulation and focus and work environment. We're going to get into all of that. But first of all, when you're driving and you've got the music blasting at a safe volume that is legal.
To be blasting.
It's blasting to an extent. And, but it's loud. And then suddenly you need to focus for whatever reason. You've got, you're on the highway and there are trucks in front of you and there's you've got to merge and it's a little bit of a stressful merge. It's good and it's safe, but you got to focus. Or it's dark and you're in a suburban town where nothing is lit and you're okay, I'm gonna go around this corner here. You're telling me that you are not overstimulated by the music and that it helps you focus more if you turn it down so that you can focus on what you're doing a little more? That doesn't happen to you at all?
I've never... I don't think I've ever done that. I am the person who parallel parks with my music blasting, one-handed drinking my coffee. So
wow,
it's a superpower.
I guess so. What does that say about the way that each of our
brains work?
What does that say about? Because that's ADHD.
Because if I were, right? Let's put it this way: if I were to turn down the volume while I'm trying to parallel park. Yep. And focus, I think I'd overthink it. I'd be oh my god, I'm gonna hit this car, but instead if you just go for it and you're confident, what a Boston
it's
worked for
thing
me.
To say. So, okay, in terms of overstimulation, what does it say about each of us that so for you, would you say more music, turning up the music helps you focus when you're driving?
I think it's very circumstantial.
Okay. Because I think for me, real quick, I think what it is, because not only do I turn off the music, but if I'm parallel parking especially, I'll usually put my windows down, and I think
it's... Why? What happens if you put the windows down? What difference does it make?
You can hear what's happening outside, and that's important. It is important to be able to...
Oh yeah, the chipmunk in that tree 7 yards to my right is moving. I should be careful.
No, someone is being dangerous and crossing in front of my car, and I can't see them because they're in my blind spot, and so they're yelling,
But if you're
hey.
Parallel parking, they shouldn't be crossing in front of your... you should be backing up.
Sure. I hear you with these rules.
This is gonna be John versus the cars.
No, there are so many, I don't know. Maybe it's just because New York is so full of foot traffic, but personally, I get very nervous about everything happening around me and needing to be aware of everything that's going on, because sometimes driving in New York, you just have to make split-second decisions. What I will say that I like about driving in New York is that all of the rules are very clear. Not everyone follows the rules, but it's very obvious. It's very clear that someone has either followed the rules or broken the rules, because it's laid out extremely well.
Okay.
However, in Boston, I find that it's kind of like up for
All
debate.
right, so you can't argue that because Boston roads were paved from like cow paths. Like they're literal.
And this is an
cow
argument
paths.
against me?
No, I said I can't argue that because
Oh, you
like,
can. I thought you were saying I can't argue that. Yeah, yes. When originally they had a drunken 4-year-old design the map of Boston.
Listen. At least we have trees.
We have trees in New York.
You literally don't, but it's fine.
We have trees all over New York. There are trees everywhere.
Yeah, upstate
Let's
New York.
move past that. Ugh.
Don't forget, we're both from Connecticut.
We are both from Connecticut.
We're so
yes,
passionate
it's kind of a mood argument.
about our current cities, but we're not even from here.
Nah.
It's fine.
So listen. I find that I need to be super aware of everything that's going on around me when I'm doing something that like requires a little bit more focus. And I am, I think, very nervous, and maybe this is unnecessary, but I'm very nervous about not hearing, you know, a biker ring their bell.
If they ring their bell.
Yeah, if they ring their bell, but like being able to hear what's going on outside, I don't know. It helps me focus to know that if someone needs to get my attention, they will be able to get it, if that makes sense. So I don't have to focus on, because otherwise, if I think it's, I don't know how to word this, if I think it's like all up to me, like I have to be aware of everything going on, and no one will be able to like inform me. Like if I have my music too loud, I get overstimulated and get like, I freeze. I definitely have the freeze. What's the word I'm looking for? Like the fight or flight response.
Right.
I have freeze where I am just like afraid to make any decisions because I'm like, what if I do the wrong thing? What if I'm missing something? What if I'm not thinking of anything? And so I don't know, for me it's like I need to have as little happening around me as possible so that I can just kind of like be in tune with what's going on around me. And I think that's very safe, Emily.
Hey, that's fine.
She's like, that's fine, you're just a trash driver, but you know, if you're a trash driver, you gotta be safe, so.
Yeah, these are facts. Well, I would have to say that I don't really get overstimulated driving because I really like driving.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think it's, like, a comfort place for me, too, where I'm just, like, I don't know. There's something about driving for me that's, like, very calming. Like, if I'm, like, really anxious, I'll be like, I'm going for a drive. And you better believe I'm driving into Boston to go for my drive.
That's how you calm down?
Sometimes.
Driving into Boston?
Yeah, because you go over, like, the Zachem, and it's that, like, really pretty bridge. And then I get off and I go down, like, by the Commons, and I get back on 93, or, like, I'll go down Sturrow to go into, like, Alston, Cambridge area, and then through, like, Harvard Square. And there's just, like, so much fun liveliness around, and it makes me feel better.
Okay. Well, yeah, that does sound nice.
Yeah. I'll take you sometime. Next time you're up here, we'll go on one of my, like, we're gonna go on Emily's Calm Down Drive. Then you'll see me sitting there swearing at everybody, like, laying. When we get back, I feel so much better.
Man, wasn't that so relaxing?
You're gonna be, like, just, like, clinging to the little thing on the side of the car.
Other than driving.
Yes, I was gonna say.
Because I know you have examples of when certain levels of stimulation are, like, needed or not good.
So I feel like it really, for me, is dependent on what I'm doing. So, like, if I'm doing homework and it's dead silent, I can't focus.
No, I can't.
That's
either.
not the vibe.
Because then the thoughts are just too loud. It's
not even that. It's just that, like, I can't think. I don't know how to explain that. Like, I just can't. Like, if it's really quiet, I'm just like...
No, that's what I mean. Like, all of I feel like I can hear all of my thoughts because it's so quiet that, like, the only the only source of stimulation is my own brain. And
I don't even know if
No?
I can't even. I think I'm so overstimulated in those moments for some reason that I can't even I don't know how to explain that. I really don't. Like, that's like the best I can do is to tell you that when I'm sitting there and it's dead silent and I'm trying to do a math problem, I end up like rereading it like 37 times. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So
I am
same
the
thing
same way.
with like writing. I can't write without like sound.
No.
But it has to be like if I'm like writing or if I'm reading and I need sound, it can't have words.
Yeah, it's got to be
So
just the right level.
I learned in
stimulation.
college that trap music is my saving grace.
Trap music.
I just like don't know what to tell you. Like it's just this
I understand.
It's like video game music.
Yeah. Is it?
It is because it's just a
Okay.
constant, steady like beat.
Oh,
And it's-
okay. I see what
yeah.
you mean.
So, and then I
yeah,
can't
okay.
think about the words. Like, I feel like because I like music so much, whenever I'm, like, listening to something new, or if, like, a new song comes on, or it's, like, a song I really like, I can't help but sit there and just, like, hear just really hear it, and, like, listen to it, and then I'm, like, listening to the words, and then I'm, like, breaking down what those words mean, and then I'm thinking about how that relates to me, and then I'm thinking about how the artist was when they wrote the song, and how that might make them feel, and then I'm sitting there going, I could write music, and then I'm like, that's silly, and then I go back to, like, this is what goes on in my brain if there's words, and I'm trying to write something or do something. So I found that trap music, like, you will literally see me put my headphones on, and plug them into my computer, and turn up the trap music, and then all of a sudden, I could write a 12-page paper in, like, 4 hours, and it's gold. And that is literally the only way I got through school. Literally. I don't know how else it would have happened. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know why that works for me. The other thing is, like, if I need to do homework, but I don't, like, it's not, like, reading or writing, I need to be in, like, a coffee shop so that there's, like, there's always something else going on. I used to have a friend in college who would come with me to, very weird place to do homework, but it worked. Qdoba.
No, that makes sense to me.
And we'd get chips and cheese, as we'd call them.
Something to munch.
And we'd sit there and we'd get, like, all of our physics homework done.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but that was, like...
No, that makes so much sense to me, because I think there's a certain, like, social pressure that comes with, like, when you're doing work in a library or at a cafe or whatever. 'Cause I have to write at a cafe, especially, like, if I'm doing anything creative, like, being somewhere where I can, like, no one's talking to me, so I have my own space, but in the background there is this constant, like, slight pressure of, you know, I can't just get up and walk around and do whatever I want. I'm not in my room, so I can't, like,
Get
distracted. Like, I can get distracted, but
you can't, like, get in your bed and take a 7-hour nap.
right, it's so much more confined, and that's a whole nother thing to get into in terms of environment, is, you know, where you're doing your work, and, like, trying to do your work, that kind of compartmentalization of, like, trying to do your work, like, on your bed, like, when you know, in high school, I feel like most of us would, like, do homework on our bed. And just what that does to your brain. Tell me. Tell us what it does to your brain. Because I know, but you can definitely explain.
It teaches your brain that your bed's not just for sleeping. And it increases the chance that you will not sleep when you get in your bed. Because your brain will think that that's still, like, a place to work.
Isn't there, like, this is your homework spot, bro?
Yeah, like, you're usually watching TV, or you're on your phone, or, like, your bed should be just for sleeping. So it's really, there's a lot of research on that, actually.
Yeah.
But before we get into, like environments like that, I'd really like to say is, like, another thing that I have to do to help myself focus sometimes, or, like, all the time, is I need to have somebody talking in the background that I'm not listening to, which sounds so weird, but, like,
that's very interesting.
So what I'll do,
because you're saying that lyrics aren't good for you in terms of music.
But only if I'm reading or writing. And I think this has
Okay.
to do with growing up, and like my little brother and sister are twins, and there was always like I'd be sitting at
Got
my
it.
kitchen table and there was always something else going on while I was trying to be productive. So I think there's some sort of like Pavlov's dog, like classical conditioning type situation going on there, because like I even now, if I'm in my office at home and I'm like working, like the days that I'm remote, like actually doing my real full-time job,
Yeah.
I have to have like a TV show on, even though I'm not paying attention to it. So like it won't even be up on the
See?
screen so that I can see it. It'll
That's
literally just be like talking in the
Yeah.
background. Either that or I'll re-listen to podcasts that like I've already heard, like so I already know, but it, like there's this comforting thing to me about like listening to somebody, like something has to be going on. I don't know how to explain that, but I am so
No,
productive when that happens.
I know exactly what you're saying. So I think it's actually switched with us with like music and versus like TV. Sorry, I hiccuped. Because I listen to music constantly. I'm just
Yeah.
constantly like if music is not playing, then I'm sitting there just drumming on my lap and making a beat, and it's definitely just a way that I've learned to I don't know, let out energy and like, but I'm music just affects mood and environment for me so much. So if I'm writing or reading, I can't listen to rap. I can't listen to something that is very lyric heavy. Especially, actually, especially rap, because I can't listen to something that isn't like melody. Like
Okay.
if it's just spoken word, that's tough for me. If it's melody and it's not as lyric heavy, I can kind of listen to it just as the music and not listen to the words as much. Especially if it's music I already know, and so you like lo-fi, funk, soul kind of vibes is usually what I'll put on, and that's great for me to read and write to. However, I cannot have television on if I'm trying to do anything, and maybe that's because ultimately I'm trying to be a television writer because I love TV. I love dialogue. I love
Yeah.
writing dialogue so much. If there is dialogue happening on a show, I can't focus on anything else that's going on. Someone's having a conversation with me. Like, it's tough when people are like, oh yeah, let's just put this thing on in the background, like at this party. And I'm like, I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, and I've seen this movie a million times, but like Remy is now using Linguini as a puppet, and I'm invested.
Yeah.
For the 101st time, I'm going to watch Ratatouille rather than pay attention to our conversation.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that, like, so I typically also can't, like, I'm not someone who can rewatch movies. Which I think is another reason why that doesn't really happen to me, because if it's something I've already seen, like if it's something I haven't seen, I'd probably be like, okay, I kind of want to like know what's going to happen. But since I know what's going to happen, it's like too predictable. But that's why that's the only reason I can do it with something I've already listened to, like a podcast or like a TV show, like on in the background, because I already know what happens. So I feel like I don't have to like.
So you're preemptively disengaged.
Yes.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I really do think it has to go back to like I would always do my homework at the kitchen table, or like I do projects at the kitchen table. And when your siblings are 5 years younger than you and they're like in different stages of life and people are coming and going to like different practices and whatever, and you're sitting at the kitchen table, you're in the center of all of it. I think that for me, it's that like just that there's something going on, it's like almost like a comfort
for work.
Yeah. But what else is interesting is when I'm in a different environment, like if I'm at home, that's what I have to do. Like when I'm in the office, like for work, I cannot focus for the life of me if there's any external sound coming from anywhere. And I don't know if that's like a social thing,
Interesting.
but like, and God bless the girl who sits outside of my office. She probably wonders why I shut my door every day. I don't know what the fuck she is clicking on. Like, she clicks on everything. All I hear all day is clicking. And it's not like a normal, like, people working in the background. Like, I think she, like, pulls up spreadsheets. I've actually seen her do this. And she's just clicking on different cells. And I'm like, why? And then there's, like, my coworker who has the office right next to me, who's, like, open door, like, anybody can come in and walk in and out, and I'm sitting there like, she's clicking again. Like, she's just clicking on things. And she so nice.
Stop clicking.
But she just clicks on everything. I'm literally going to record it. Oh, she's not there tomorrow. Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
When I'm in the office, I'm going to record it while it's happening. I recorded it once and sent it to my boss because her office is, like, across the hallway at the other side. And I was like, this is why my door's always shut. Like, you can come in. I don't care. But it's shut because all I can think about while I'm trying to create or analyze something or, like, read a research article is all I can hear is clicking. But, like, to in my defense, though, like, it's also really bad. It's not, like, a normal, like... It's not a normal office environment, like, where she's, like, just clicking on something every now and then. It's, like... I mean,
Furious
she's...
clicking.
Like, it's just, like... Hold on, let me make sure my mouse is not anything important, because my work laptop's over here. Okay. She's, like... Oh, my God, it keeps, like, trying to click on something.
I like to think that she doesn't click at all, and then you come in and she's like, "Oh God!"
No,
I
because
just
she gets
hit
there.
my microphone.
She gets there after me,
She gets there after you,
and she just clicks. And it's one of those, like, this is one of those, like, quiet mouses. So, like, you know.
I was gonna say she probably doesn't have the courteous mouse
No,
technology
it's like
that
the
you
ones
have.
from. It's like the ones from, like, high school in the computer lab. Like, that's all I hear all day. I'm literally going to record it.
I'm so sorry that that's happening to you. As
But
someone
I
outside
think-
of the situation, it's really funny.
You know what? While we were
And I
talking,
will-
I'm going to
You
look
should
for
bring
this.
in a
'cause
typewriter. You should bring in, like, an old-fashioned, like, typewriter. And just, like...
Sometimes I think about growing my nails out. Like, so that I could just, like, tap... I don't know. I'm going to find this right now, this video, while I tell you the rest of this.
Okay.
Because the other thing is I also think, because this has been going on for 2 years now, that I have conditioned this, like, need to be at work in silence because I've, like, shut the door. So, like, recently, there was, like, she wasn't there because it was a Wednesday. It was, like, such a relief. I could keep my door open because it gets really hot in my office with the door shut. So there's a whole nother aspect of that. And at some point we'll touch, like, not in this episode, but, like, another episode, I want to touch on, like, overstimulation sensory-wise, like, touch and things like that. But,
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. If I'm, like, really hot, I can't focus. But...
Oh,
so,
no, I get that, too. Well, yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. But so, the other day, she, oh, did I send it to my, sorry, I'm, like, looking for this, oh my God, it's right here. So she wasn't there the other day, and there was just two people having, like, a conversation, like, in, like, down the hallway.
Yeah.
But I think because I always shut my door, and it's typically pretty quiet, it's, like, that's the environment while I'm in the office that I need to be working in.
Yeah.
So they're talking, and I was so annoyed. Like, overstimulated annoyed. Like, couldn't think. Like, had to, like, shut my door and, like, take a minute. But here is her clicking. Please enjoy.
No, what is she clicking on?
I don't know.
What program requires?
Nothing. So now you know I'm not exaggerating. Like, it's bad.
Funny. That's bad.
It's so
You
bad.
should bring in a typewriter.
I really think I'm going to.
1,000%. I think that'd be so funny.
I think I'm gonna have to. Just, you know. Because she can't close her door. She doesn't have an office. she has a cubicle. So,
Wow.
I should move my desk to, like, right by the door. No, she's really nice. Well, I know.
No,
It's
yeah,
just,
for sure. But
I'm not exaggerating, right? Like, that's
you
like,
can't, no, like, because that's the thing is when it's off pattern stuff, like, because there's something to be said about like white noise.
right.
Like I need white noise when I sleep, actually. Because there's definitely, I don't know if you know any of the science behind this, but there's definitely something behind like white noise helping just quiet the mind. Is it
There
because
is. There's a lot of research on it, but I actually don't know enough to like confidently.
no? Because what I wonder if it's something close to this, something that I find like another situation actually that really helps me focus when I'm trying to read or write is when I am in the midst of transportation. Obviously passive transportation. Like I'm not driving while reading.
I do know the answer to this.
Okay, all right. So what I have theorized, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, is I think it's easier because rather than trying to like multitask all the time, when I'm like on public transportation, whether that's, I mean, or even like on a plane, I love working and reading on a plane. I find it so much easier, and I think it's because I already feel like at base, by doing nothing, I am already being productive because I'm traveling. And it almost feels like, because in my mind, I feel like the need to multitask is a little less, not urgent, but like, it's easier to not feel like I have to multitask because I can be doing one singular task and I am doing that task while traveling. And like to some subconscious level that almost feels like multitasking. That's how I've felt like it might work.
So
But
the
now
first
hit me with
thing,
the
so
science.
there's two parts to my answer.
Okay.
And the first one is going to be like shower thoughts, right? Like when you're in
Okay.
the shower and you have like all these like thoughts and ideas, and you're like, I
Yeah.
come up with my best stuff in the shower. That is me. I come up with best stuff in the shower.
Yeah.
It's because you're stuck in a task that doesn't require you to be putting out like mental energy, right? Like you're just
Right.
it's kind of like they're like in a way like latent thoughts, right? Like they're these thoughts that are coming because you don't have to do anything right now. You don't have to be thinking about work. You're just like scrubbing away at your body, right? Washing your hair. You're not thinking about anything. So you have all of these thoughts and all of these ideas because there's no pressure to perform. And I think that kind of carries over into like when you're traveling, because I used to also get like really good ideas when I'd have to sit on the bus, like on the way home from work or from school, you know?
Yeah.
And
On
I think
walks.
it's again because you're stuck, right? Like you can't get up and go do something else. You can't. There's no way.
Yeah.
So
There's no
you're
like planning to be done. There's no
Yes.
like conscious like prioritization of, oh, I should do this or I should do
Yes.
this.
And that's
Yeah.
why
That's very interesting.
sometimes that's why people come up with like really good ideas in the shower.
Yeah.
That's how all of my businesses have come to. Shower's a dangerous place.
Man.
But I think that, like, I think it also helps that you don't have the pressure. Like, I think it plays into what you're saying, right? Like, you don't have the pressure to get up and, like, do something else because, like, you're also multitasking, right? You're going somewhere, you're getting to your next point. But that also, again, I think just feeds into, at the same time, like, you're stuck in what you're doing. Like, you really can't do anything else. So your mind's able to like be like, oh, I don't have to worry about like what's going on at work right now, or I don't have to worry about what's going on with this. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there and you're just kind of minding your business and you're like, oh my God, I have all these thoughts, because now your brain is able to actually like not focus on anything really.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting? Because I bet that has something to do with like why working at a cafe is good. It's like almost like you're more purposefully creating a situation of I'm stuck here. Like even though you're not, there's a situation of like I've chosen to do this and so I'm going to sit here. But you know what? Yep. I bet that's why you always studied well at Qdoba, because eating while performing is like eating while doing something else. That's a stuck task. Like, I'm not going to get up and
Right.
go anywhere. I'm eating this meal, and like I'm just going to like work. I keep hitting my mic. I'm gonna work while I'm eating this meal. And
Yeah.
so until the meal is done, I have nowhere else to be, nothing else to do, and I don't have to do any work. What I have to do is eat this meal, but that's already happening.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's like, I think that plays a big role too, and like, and I think that's, when you think about it, that's what like meditation is, right? You just, you force yourself to kind of recognize all these things that are going on, and like, but not focus on them.
Well, you actually can't force yourself, as Andy from Headspace tells us. If you're forcing anything, that's not meditation.
It's not the vibe, he says.
It's not the vibe, says Andy.
Can you imagine him in his little British accent?
I love him. I love that.
I love him so much too. I know.
Just remember
He's so good.
that if you're trying to force anything, that is not the vibe.
See, that'd be so funny. I'd be like, yeah!
Yeah. Other than work focus, something that I have found very interesting in terms of overstimulation, and again, maybe this is me because I'm particularly like prone to like sensory overload and overstimulation, where I find I'm not, and this might play into the driving thing too. I am not an audio person, or what's the like not a visual learner. An auditory
learner, yeah.
Right. I'm not an auditory learner. I do not absorb information well just by listening. I need visuals. And so if I am listening to something, I have to like not have anything visual
that
going
could play
on.
That makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
And it's different for me because I have to do it. I'm the person who has to do it to learn it. Like, if I can't do it, like, if people are just, like, up there, like, preaching something to me, I'm not going to retain any of it. Like, literally none of it.
No,
all my
I'm a
college grades will
learner.
tell you that. Like, they'll be like, oh, history, oh, philosophy. Emily couldn't do anything in those classes but listen and read. Fail. No, I didn't fail them, but, you know. Just...
Yeah, no, if we're talking about any of my classes outside of my major where I got to actually, like, physically do something, I retained, and even the ones in my major where, you know, sometimes there were just professors talking at you, I couldn't retain any of that. However, this past weekend when I was putting together my Halloween costume, I broke out a sewing machine that Keith's grandmother gave us, which she was like, here, and we were like, okay, thanks. And then I realized I could use it for my Halloween costume, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna learn how to use a sewing machine. And I looked some stuff up, and then all of a sudden, as I was like physically doing it, I flashed back to
Middle school?
seventh grade sewing class. And I was like, you have to backstitch. I remember this. And it just, like, the physical, I, like, remembered that so much more clearly than anything that was talked at me through college or high school.
And I think,
Crazy.
like, it's interesting to look at how, like, we're different in these aspects, like we're very, like, we both have very different things that, like, kind of are too much for us. But before we, like, really kind of wrap up today, I want to touch on, I guess, some of the signs of, like, what happened, or, like, I guess what kind of happens. First, okay, let me start that over for a second.
Yeah.
I want to, overstimulation is happening in my brain. So many thoughts. So I guess what I want to ask is, when you're overstimulated, what happens to you?
Oh, man.
Like, how do you act?
That's actually very interesting that you bring that up, because I recorded myself like a week ago when I was in quarantine because I had COVID.
Did you ever get symptoms?
Actually.
Did you ever get symptoms?
I had no symptoms, and I think that's because I got boosted like a month prior. So, yeah. There was a day where I was kind of having a little bit of a panic attack. Just a little bit of mild anxiety, major anxiety. And I thought it would be interesting to, like, record it. And I don't think I'm ever going to do anything with it, but I thought it would be really interesting to, like, sit there and, like, record and, like, just see, you know, so I can look at it from a perspective of like when I'm not overstimulated, when I'm not anxious,
Yeah.
and see like what it's like. And it's very interesting because I can maintain a very interesting like physical sense of okay, actually. So I texted you this thing a little while ago when I was saying like the 4 responses to not to overstimulation. I forget what it is, but it was like fight, flight, freeze, or fawn.
Mm-hmm.
And I've realized how much I am a freeze. And it's very interesting how when I'm overstimulated or when I'm scared, and this has happened when like, college dorms see a mouse on the floor. I remember a specific example of me was scared because it was like, I mean, now knowing New York rats, I would not be as scared of a mouse, but I just saw it there and was very calmly to my friend like, hey, do me a favor, put your legs up on the couch. And she was like, everything okay? And I was like, yep, just give me 1 second. There is a mouse, and we're just going to remain very calm. And I don't know where it comes from, but I've definitely built this, like, my natural reaction is to, like, freeze and do absolutely nothing and just, like, observe everything that's happening. And so when I get overstimulated, I get very, like, I don't know, because it's not that I shut down per se. I don't know how to describe it. I find that I still appear very calm, but it's because I'm trying to do as little as possible. Maybe that's come from, I mean, I've been doing it long before I started meditating. Maybe it's a technique of like trying to let the feeling pass. Maybe it's, I don't know, but I just get so still. Like I physically look calmer when I'm overstimulated, which is strange.
I bet you my lovely husband would prefer if that was my overstimulation reaction, but I am one mean son of a bitch when I'm overstimulated.
Tell me all about it.
I not to anybody really, like, I'll be a little short and like kind of like if I'm like in public or around like my like friends or whatever and I'm overstimulated, I'll be a little bit like standoffish and a little short. But like unfortunately Victor gets the brunt of it because I'll come home from work and I'll be so overstimulated and he's trying to tell me about his day because he's so excited and it's so much fun and I'm just like, I'm gonna need you to leave me alone. Like, I'm gonna need you to, like, walk away and not look at me for, like, 4 hours. I, like, what will happen, and this also comes with, like, being able to communicate with Victor, and obviously we know each other pretty well at this point. But one of the things that I had to, like, learn how to communicate better was, like, sometimes, and this is, like, what I was saying, I think, before we started recording the podcast episode, is like when I get like today I was a little overstimulated when I got home from work and I like sat on the couch, and typically I'll sit on the couch and I'll watch TV, and that's my way of like getting out of my head and like just like focusing on something different, distracting my mind from like whatever's gone on, and I'll do that for like an hour or two, and then I can like I really it takes me some time to like decompress. If someone tries to talk to me when I'm doing that, whether it's watching TV or it's on my phone, one, I can't hear you. I won't listen to you. I just won't. Like, I just can't, like, get myself out of, like, being somewhere else in the moment. And two, I'll probably be kind of mean. Like, I'll probably have some sort of response about why you should just, like, fuck off. Because I can't help myself, and I'm so stuck in these, like, really, like, I feel very, like, tense. And, like, when somebody's interrupting that feeling of, like, being like, trying to, like, get rid of that, it's irritating. Like, I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. Like, I can't, so I've learned to say to, like, things to Victor. Will be like, okay, like, I want to hear this, but I need a little bit, because right now I can't even think about, like, anything. And that's what happened to me today is I came home and he was making dinner and I walked to the door and I was like, I need to sit in silence. It's like, I need to go sit in, so I sat on the couch, I didn't turn the TV on, and I just sat there. I didn't even look at my phone. Like, I just sat there and he made dinner and it was quiet and then we ate dinner and I was fine. And here I am and I'm totally fine. But definitely having that, like, I can't help myself, but like I get irritated if somebody's like, and I'm overstimulated and someone's trying to get my attention, and not that that's anybody else's fault, but yeah. I can't help myself. Like, I don't know how to control that. Like, I really have struggled to not be mean when I'm overstimulated. Like, it takes a lot of effort for me to be like, all right, let's take a minute type of a thing.
It's hard. I definitely feel like I can, like, just be a little saucy, a little spicy when overstimulated. And what I've tried to work on is, because I think the mistake can be, you know, this would be amazing if we could learn how to not do that, how to respond better than that. But that's really hard, and that's like very deep-seated, like the way that we're processing stress.
It takes a lot.
And I think it's much easier and more reliable and more effective, honestly, to be able to just communicate, like, I'm not in a place right now where I can be nice. Like, not that, but like that, you know, and being like, like, hey, I need to sit here in silence for a minute, and knowing that you're stressed and knowing how you're going to react during certain stimulus and being able to remove yourself from the situation.
Right. And like, I think too, like, another thing that I've learned comes with having ADHD, I guess, is I get overstimulated the moment I wake up. And I think it's because all of a sudden I have all of these tasks to do. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, I have to get up, I have to shower, I have to brush my teeth, I have to get dressed. And so in the morning, my mama always used to say, like, nobody talk to Emily in the morning. But it's because I'm struggling. And this has been better because now I take my Adderall, like, the second I open my eyes. So that, like, 45 minutes into my day, I'm already, like, moving and I feel better. But I do get overwhelmed in the morning because I'm like, okay, first I gotta do this, then I gotta get this done, then I gotta get out the door by this time, and I feel so much pressure to, like, make sure everything goes the right way so I can leave on time and I can be to work on time, and I'm terrible at being on time. So for me, I try, like, I'm actively trying every morning to be on time, but I'm so like, oh my god, there's so much going on.
And so in the morning, if someone comes up to you and is like, hey, can I interrupt your flow for a second?
No.
It's like, do you understand what's at stake?
Absolutely not. Like, Victor and I, like, he got a new job, and so now he's up around the same time I am in the morning, and he talks to me, and I just don't respond, because I know he's, like, and he knows me, though.
No, I get
like,
it.
But luckily, like, I've communicated all this, right? And right. There's definitely still things that happen that I'm like, all right, let me explain to him, like, what's actually happening in my brain right now. But in the morning,
that's gonna be forever. You're never gonna be
and that's totally fine. Like, and he accepts it, and he'll like totally respect that. And some mornings I will be like, all right, like, I just need to take a breath, and like, everything's going fine. He's just telling me something, you know, and I have to, like, take a minute. But it's mainly, again, it's not because, and I think that's why I'm always like, I'm not a morning person, because I'm not. Like, don't talk to me in the morning, because I'll be mean. I will be, like, I will annihilate your life if you catch me at the wrong moment. Like, if I, like, just open my eyes and you look at me and you have something to say, I'm sure that I will pick on your biggest insecurity, because I am not nice in the morning. I just, that's my fault. That's my toxic trait. Oh my god, don't. This podcast will be no more, don't.
I'll call you and be like, good morning, sunshine.
I will literally throw my phone out the window. Like, but it's, again,
like,
it's
your
not.
Your lighting setup looks stupid.
Did you know I could hear the cars outside of your window while we were recording our podcast? No. No, I say this all as like a, hey, I've realized this is what's going on. And it's not like this every morning, you know, but like, definitely in the morning, I'm a little bit harder to get along with. And same thing, actually, as soon as I get home from work, or like if I'm in my car, like when I get in my car and someone calls me the second I sit down after work, when I'm trying to just like, from the day, I get a little like, I'm like, why are you calling me right now? Like, as if you know what I'm doing. But it's just...
You know what I realized it is for me, and it's the time where I will be the most mean. It's the, like, don't talk to John time. I've realized very recently, actually, it's usually when I'm cooking. Because I know it's like, or either cooking or doing an activity that requires several steps and, like, timing and planning. And because I'm cooking, there are several parts. And so I'm like, okay... And I'm also a fanatic for efficiency. And so my goal is, how do I time everything out perfectly? I'm going to season this chicken. I'm going to throw this in the oven. I'm going to, like, then get the rice going when the chicken's at 20 minutes left. And then I'm going to, like... And in my mind, the goal is everything is completed at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do, but I also love it. And I love cooking, and I'm, like, passionate about that. And then whenever I'm doing that, and Keith will come up to me and just kind of, just physically bother me, especially when he's physically, he'll just start, like, poking me and being like, hi. I'm just like, no, I can't do that right now. I can't. You need to get away from me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a mean person.
I think, too, that happens to me when I'm doing something, like, that I'm really focused on trying to get done that I've never done before. Like, last night I fixed our garbage disposal.
Oh.
Mind you, it was also at, like, 10:30 at night. Not the best time to do it, but I don't know time. I don't understand time. It's just, I was ready to fix it. I was going to fix it then. John, when I tell you I learned how to take apart a garbage disposal last night at 10:30,
Sometimes it's just like that, though. Sometimes you just need to take apart a garbage disposal at 10:30 p.m.
Do you know how heavy a garbage disposal is? Like, a lot heavier than it looks.
Really?
And so I was like, I needed help from Victor, because I was like, I was getting so mad because I couldn't get the thing back on the little, like, the little lip to, like fix it perfectly.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And, I'm like, I asked him to come help me, and I didn't communicate in the moment, I need your attention, like, not like a 5-second reset while you're waiting for your next match in Tekken to start. I need you to physically hold this and help me. And so he's like, I got, like, frustrated with something, not towards him, but then he, like, walked away because he was like, hold on, my next match is starting. And I was like, I was so mad, like, so mad. And, like, we got into, like, a little bit of, like, we bickered about it for, like, a little bit. And then, like, once everybody calmed down from everything and the garbage disposal was fixed, I walked in there and I was like...
The match had ended.
Yeah, literally. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I was, like, really overwhelmed, and I was really trying to get this done because I'm so annoyed that it wasn't working, and I didn't want to call maintenance, and I know it was a bad time, and, like, and he obviously was very, like, receptive towards that. He was like, no, like, I get it, like, I also really didn't give you what I should have in that moment, and, like, put down my game and, like, helped, but,
no,
so I think it's also communication, right? Like, just to know... Exactly. How to communicate that and recognize those signs. And I think one of the things I'd like to say, just to kind of help people if they don't realize they're overstimulated, kind of go, like, just really quickly list off, like, the signs of being overstimulated, so that maybe you could help yourself a little bit better if you're in the moment and you're like, oh my god, like, I don't know what's going on, and like, just to be able to take them, because I think the biggest lesson I've learned, and especially being in a relationship, because I feel like when you're dealing with this and you're not in a relationship, you don't really realize, like, at least I didn't realize the effect of, like, what was happening towards other people in my life when I was, like, acting the way that I was, because it doesn't happen often enough with that person that it's happening to outside of the relationship, that they're just like, okay, it's an off moment or whatever. But then when you realize there's a pattern to it, right? And it's, like, showing up in your relationship at home, you can kind of pick it apart a little bit. And it's taught me to kind of take a moment and, like, just kind of assess what's going on. And if you can't do it in the moment, after the fact, like, because yesterday when I was frustrated about the stupid garbage disposal, which I think I'm still frustrated about,
garbage disposal.
I it was when I finally had walked away from it and was like, Victor was already in the room, that I took a minute to like be like, oh, that was fucked up. Like, I should explain myself, you know?
And I think it's important to like not beat yourself up for, you know, it's all about being honest with yourself and realizing, oh, I do get overstimulated. When I get overstimulated, I react in these ways. The reason I get overstimulated is for these reasons. You don't have to like stop yourself from getting overstimulated, because that's like kind of an insane goal, because
that might just make it worse.
That's deeply rooted in the way that your brain works. But you can look at what overstimulates you and be like, oh, let me try to not put myself in that situation. Or, you know, when you inevitably end up in that situation and then you have to kind of explode a little bit, and then someone that you love and care about is right there for the taking of that explosion. Mm-hmm. Then afterwards, you kind of have to be like, hey, that was not cool of me. When I'm in this situation and this thing happens, I tend to be not cool.
Yeah.
And I'm communicating this with you because I'm going to try to not do it, but also avoiding these circumstances will help eliminate the uncoolness that is me yelling at you because I'm trying to season my chicken. Because that's stupid. Fair. And that's not worth a fight.
But it's fair that you're overstimulated in that moment.
No, it's
too.
very
like,
fair.
You being overstimulated also is not like you shouldn't be overstimulated. It's no. Let's recognize it and let's try to make it a little better for ourselves and the people around us.
When I say it's stupid, I mean that is not a reason why someone else should have to take the results of your overstimulation. And that's not your fault. It's just like hey, I'm gonna explode in these situations in the future, and I'm telling you this so that we can like just avoid those.
And
as long as there's understanding that like
and I think
people are gonna be people.
Like everybody's gonna get many people get overstimulated in different ways. Like different things happen too when you're overstimulated, and some of the signs, just so that we have some sort of here's some awareness about it, is difficulty focusing. Which I've totally experienced. Surges in extreme irritability or anger.
Can't relate.
Restlessness or discomfort. I've had that happen where I just like all of a sudden I like can't get comfortable or something's really bothering me.
No, that's very much me, where I'm just like I have to put on a sweatshirt, but also I need to take off all of my clothes. I cannot be comfortable in this moment. Yeah.
And this one is interesting because I've seen it, but I don't think I do it. Covering eyes or ears, and I don't think it means like I can't see it, like, you know, like I don't think it means like in that kid way of like, oh my god, I can't see it. I think it's when people are like sitting there and then they just like, you know what I mean? Like they put their hands in their, like their head in their hands, or they'll sit there and they'll just like, have you seen people do that?
I have definitely seen people do that. I wonder if I do that. I'm not sure. Because I feel like I get like protective of the face. Like I definitely get a little like...
Yeah, and I think like, now that I'm saying it, I've done it where like I actually have done it for at least covering my eyes. Like I'll sit there and I'll like rub my eyes and then I won't open them. Like I'm sitting there and I just like won't look at what's going on. I'll just be like listening because it's almost like too much. So you just kind of sit there and you're like, but I don't think I've ever covered my ears.
I don't think I've ever covered my ears. No, cause I think I will, like, I don't like cover my eyes, but I will like put like, I think what I'm realizing now, I think I put like finger blinders over my eyes to like knock out some of my peripherals, just to like give myself a little bit of tunnel vision. Just to,
Hey, whatever.
You know, it works for me.
And then this one's interesting too, because I think that I experience this all the time, is feeling overly excited or hyperactive.
I can't relate.
And I think that I do that when I'm also uncomfortable, which leads to overstimulation, right? Like if I'm really anxious about the situation or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, so I'm just going to talk everybody's ear off, and I'm just going to keep going, and I can't stop, and I can't help myself, and I just kind of like, I've done that many times.
I feel that. I'm just like, if I stop talking, we all might die, so I'm
literally
keep going.
I mean, been there.
Oh my god.
This one is stress, fear, or anxiety about their surroundings, which if you think about it, it's kind of like almost like social anxiety, where you're out in like a crowd and all of a sudden it's just way too much and you're overstimulated by all the noise and the people, and then you're just really anxious about what's going on and you can't like relax. I've had that happen many times. And the last one on this little list that I pulled up here is higher sensitivity levels to textures, fabrics, or clothing tags. And something that I, as being someone who has longer hair, when I'm overstimulated and my hair is touching my neck, oh my god, that's like the worst feeling ever. Like, I have to put my hair up. I think the lesson, air quotes,
what did we learn
more so
today?
What we've learned today, or I guess too, just like a point I want to bring home is like, we're all going to get overstimulated at some point. And that's okay. But I think it says a lot if you can really kind of evaluate, even if it's already over, like not necessarily in the moment, and don't put that pressure on yourself when it's all happening to be like, what is going on? But I think
you can't evaluate when you're in the middle of being overstimulated. That doesn't work.
But like learning kind of what, like maybe your signs of being overstimulated, and then like just that way too, like sometimes for me, sometimes it's 0 to 100, but sometimes it's like, okay, I'm starting to get overstimulated, so I can express that, and then people who care and love about me will help me kind of like move forward through like whatever's going on. So just being able to kind of learn more about like what happens when you're overstimulated, and like how people can help you, or if people need to leave you alone, and being able to just communicate like, hey, when I get overstimulated, that was a weird way of saying that, I need space, or I would appreciate this, or like,
yeah, I think
whatever.
you can kind of copy and paste this to like most like mental health related episodes too, you know, where like in the midst of depression, in the midst of other types of anxiety, just being able to recognize, you know, it's okay that you're having these feelings, this like situation going on. Try to evaluate when you're outside of it, like why it happened, what caused it, and, you know, can you prevent it in the future? Maybe not. Can you communicate it to those that it might affect, and that might be affecting you? Absolutely.
Right.
10 times out of 10.
And I think too, it's just really important to also kind of give yourself that respect too, of like knowing it's okay to be, you know, I think I get overstimulated way more than I should sometimes, and I shouldn't have that attitude really about it. It should be like, hey, I'm recognizing that this is something I'm struggling with, and here's how I can fix it. So I don't know, I just something to think about,
something to ponder.
Yeah.
Emily, what else did we learn today?
Oh, I learned that we should pet some dogs.
Oh my god, when you're overstimulated, you find a dog, you ask its owner, and then you pet that dog.
Absolutely.
And what
Unless
else?
It's a working dog.
Unless it's a working dog.
I think we also learned that John can't see when it's too loud.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, no, I cannot see when it is too loud.
And then I guess...
Well, what we also learned, I think, is that Emily hates clicking sounds.
Ugh.
So...
You know, I used to not mind them, but when all you do is click, it's a little frustrating.
That's great. I'm just going to send you pictures of computer mice throughout the day.
Please don't.
Just as a reminder.
Anyway.
Anywho.
Well, thank you all for joining us.
Oh my god, thank you so much.
We hope we didn't overstimulate you.
Or if we did, we hope you liked it. I don't know.
I guess we'll see you next time, hopefully.
Please come back and watch the show on Mental Sync.
Beautiful. Cool. Okay, are we happy?